All right, we've been riding the G-Skate for the past 3 months and we're excited to tell you all about it. Let's get into it.
The G-Skate is a hybrid, so kind of between a fish and a groveler that was collaborated with Channel Islands and the Gdauskas brothers to formulate pure stoke in the water, as they would put it.
Positive vibe warriors.
Positive vibe warrior.
So that's how the board came to be, but let's break down the tech specs.
They did want to make sure it wasn't just a cruiser, so they did focus a lot on performance with this board. And so to achieve that, they shortened the typical shortboard rail by 5 inches, and then they added curves and contours in certain spots that helps
Dan,
keep the board on top of the water and not hinder their turns in any way.
I think like the key point here too is they added like a slight single to double concave. They also moved the wide point forward. There was some pretty low entry rocker. So you add all those things up and it equals a hybrid board that is really quick, gets you through the flat stuff, but then you don't sacrifice any sort of performance. So the collaboration between Britt and the Gdauskas brothers actually produced a new set of fins that I guess tied this whole concept together. So if you're curious about bang for your buck, the AMT 2+1 set will work. And if you're just a tried and true thruster person, then you can also use your favorite set of thrusters.
All right, so the unique features for this board, we have our wide point forward, and it has a really unique tail. It almost looks like it has straight sections in it, and then when you look at the tail, it really cuts in. It has like a hip into a very narrow swallowtail. I don't know if you guys got any of this, but I had 2 guys randomly come up and talk to me like, that board looks super weird. Like they just said, like, that board looks like a mistake, but it looked good in the water. I feel similar though, because it does.
I think you can say it. It's kind of an ugly board.
It's ugly.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's function over aesthetics for sure.
It's not pretty. It's like
it's not pretty.
No.
But that's okay as long as it surfs great, right? So I think that's what we're going to get into here in a little bit.
Right.
I am 5'11", 155, and I usually ride around like 27 liters for volume. Yeah, and my foot orientation is neutral back, and Steven's is neutral forward. I'm goofy.
I'm regular. I am 5'10", 160 pounds. I've floated back up into the 160 realm.
And the stock dimensions of this board are 5'4", 19 inches wide, 2 3/8 thick, and 27.2 liters.
Why'd you guys choose the volume that you guys did, or the height?
I'm usually riding 26 to 28 in that range.
But the 27 is like my sweet spot. And so far I have not gone wrong if I stick true to my volume, as long as you stay true to the way the shaper built the board. But what I wasn't stoked on was the height. It's a 5'4", like that's just real short, especially with a wide point that's forward. It feels like you're on a boogie board almost. But the other options, it's either a 5'6", which gets up into like 29 liters.
Way too big.
Or a 5'2", which drops you down to 25 liters.
So that is an actual boogie board.
Yeah, it might actually be a boogie board. You're right.
So this is the Pod Mod, the yellow board behind me, and then the G-Skate. If you can see, the Pod Mod definitely has a more full shape, like more rounded shape. And the literage for this stock board is 28, I think 28 and a half. So it's almost a little over a full liter more volume, the Pod Mod is, than the G-Skate. And I think that speaks to like the tail being so like sharp and skinny. That aggressive swallowtail, whatever you want to call it, is super interesting. And then the overall shape of the G-Skate is just a little straighter. The G-Skate feels more high performance than the Pod Mod does. Pod Mod feels way more like forgiving, like a little like slower and fatter, whereas G-Skate is kind of like, I don't know, if this is dad bod, this is like dad bod with like 2 weeks of workout under him, you know. He's like a little trimmer, a little more fit, a little sharper edges. But this is definitely more forgiving for sure. The Pod Mod is.
So we rate our surfboards on 3 things: performance, fun, and value. So for performance, what would you guys rate the board?
Andrew, why don't you go first? I feel like I need to That way I don't give a range. I don't change my answers, but
All right, I'm going to commit to a number and I'm going to say 4 out of 5. Here's why. It performed really well in small stuff. It performed well in larger stuff. Now I say that we've been surfing it over summer, so larger right now is like shoulder high at best, but it performed well in pretty much any conditions that I put it in spite of my harsh prejudice against it. It definitely opened up some new horizons for me, and I'm actually pretty happy about that. However, this is an ugly board, so performance in the water, surfing waves is pretty great, but performance walking on the sand, looking good with the board under your arm, not so great. So I docked it a star. It's not the perfect board yet.
so I'd say for performance, I've ridden it mostly in crap surf. So I kind of have to keep that in mind. And I surfed it a lot in junky windswell, in the waist high realm. And that was not as fun. And I feel like my rating is partially brought down a little bit because of the surf I've been in, but I'm gonna give it a 3.5 for performance. It does feel like it can do a lot, and I was able to get a couple of screamers to the point where we'll call them leg burners, where I was surfing for more than 3 seconds, and it felt really good. And that wave was probably like head high overhead. It definitely has a tail that is a little wild, depending on where you put your foot. It can be really loose and zippy. It takes finesse. It's going to take a little bit of time for me to figure out how to surf it well.
Maybe our foot orientation plays into this, right? Like the tail is like very sharp. And so depending on where that foot is, it can change like your dynamic on the wave. And for me, that was a good thing because I'm a little bit heavier on my back foot. And I didn't have a break-in period with it as much. It was really quick for me, especially in smaller stuff. Performance also encompasses paddling. The paddle power was pretty good, in all honesty. Like a normal shortboard is just okay. My fish beard is better by about 10 to 15%, and this is probably another 10% on top of that. So I noticed a difference between this and the fish beard, and it would be a major jump from like a high performance shortboard, like a CI2 Pro or something like that. Yeah, so I think I've only had good sessions on this board, which is a surprising thing for me to say.
One say in terms of performance that I will note is that it does a really good job of like spinning. So you can do grab rail threes, reversals, 360s, that whole bit, I think super easily. And it lends itself to that with the egg shape, kind of hybrid shape overall. On a lot of your lefts, you're able to, not me, we're able to like get it up super vertical for a lot of your snaps. And you looked really good surfing it. But I feel like
not as good of a surfer.
Probably that too.
We surf in different ways.
Surf different lines. That's all it is. Very nice. Well said, gentlemen. Next up, we have ratings for fun. So we'll start off with Steve this time. How would you rate the G-Skate for fun?
I'm gonna go 3.5, just because I feel like I haven't quite gelled with the board. It's fun, and I've had a couple of fun sessions on it, but I need more time to figure it out. I probably surfed on it over the course of the last 3 months, not in great waves. So my fun factor, 3.5.
Okay, my fun factor is a 5, and I'll tell you why. Yeah, my rating. I've pretty much only had fun sessions on this board. It's been in poor surf, it's been in better surf, and I just keep catching a ton of waves. That might be because I have this dad froth going on right now, so I'm surfing fewer times and I try to maximize the time I am in the water, so I just try and catch anything I can. But I've just had so much fun on this board, and I think that's the whole point of the design, right? Is you can take it out in pretty much any type of surf and have a really good time on it. And I think they accomplished that in spades. Even when I was walking back to my car on one of the sessions, someone pulled me aside and said, "Oh, is that the G-Skate? Isn't that thing super rad?" And he proceeded to tell me how he brought the G-Skate to Indo and only surfed that board out of his entire quiver the entire time he was there. and he loved it, right? So like, the G-Skate, you have fun in the water. It's like introducing you to people you wouldn't normally talk to. I think honestly, it's just been a really fun board all around. So 5 out of 5 for me.
That's incredible.
A full 5.
Is that the first 5 out of 5 for fun? Or did you do Fishbeard 5 out of 5 for fun?
Andrew
I
did
can't
5s for Fishbeard.
Got it.
5, 5, 5.
And last up is value. So this board retails for $775 for stock dims PU. What would you guys rate it on value?
I guess your score, you guess my score.
It's either going to be a 4 or a 4.5. I'm not sure which one. I'll say 4.5.
And I think you're gonna pick a 3.5.
Show me mine and I will show you yours. It was a 4. I'm going 3.5.
Yeah, I went with 4 out of 5 for my value rating. Super fun board, surprising performance, but I think I'll ride this board from like spring through summer, and then I'm gonna switch to something else fall through winter. Like I'll probably ride like a Fishbeard or something maybe a little bit more high performance just because of the waves. So if I go with a PU, this board is gonna sit in the garage for a while and slowly fade away. So that's why I went with a 4 out of 5. I just don't think I would use it year round. If I went with the Spine Tech model, even though that's more money, I think that would be the better buy, because that would last, I think, multiple years, and it can hang out in the garage and it won't lose its spring.
Yeah, I'd go 3.5 simply because at this time I would probably ride a different grovel board in the same conditions. Like I enjoy the Rocket Wide more than surfing the G-Skate at the moment. But I think a point kind of towards the G-Skate is that it does seem like it's more versatile. The G-Bros, or actually I would say the whole Vans team, they were riding the G-Skate in Hawaii this winter in big Haleiwa, and then also like small surf, rocky luffs, and they found it to be very versatile in both small and large conditions. And with my experience with the Rocket Wide, it kind of taps out at head high. So 3.5 overall. It's a good board, but I don't love it.
To like sum up the G-Skate, don't judge a book by its cover. I think that the G-Skate doesn't fit a mold or maybe the expectations of what you think it should be. Steven, who loves the Pod Mod and those types of boards, ended up not liking it all that much. And then this guy over here, who primarily rides like traditionally shaped boards, and the Fishbeard is like my most strangest board in my quiver, you know, I ended up really liking the G-Skate. So I wonder if there's some sort of correlation there on like how it was designed and maybe the conditions or the type of surfing that it was meant for. All in all, that's our take on the G-Skate after surfing it for the past 3 months. If you disagree, let us know in the comments below. Otherwise, we will see you out in the water. Catch you later.